Hey everyone, super excited. Today is our 100th episode. I can't believe I've been recording this podcast for the last year and a half, just getting to interview the most awesome people in the functional medicine field, natural fertility solutions, mind, body. It really has been such a pleasure. And I'm excited for you to listen to today's episode. Really has some nuggets of wisdom for you to take away, and really the key to focusing on our preconception health. It does impact our future generation, our postpartum health. It is extremely important. Grab your partner, take the next hour to really sink your teeth into this episode. I know you'll enjoy it. I don't know whether you've heard, but I'm offering some spaces in my calendar for Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery Calls. So this call is for you if you're ready to get pregnant naturally or improve your chances at the fertility clinic. We take a functional approach to fertility. It's the future of conventional medicine. So there's a reason that so many medical professionals who are trying to conceive work with us. The approach is rooted in science. So the call is for both you and your partner. Go to FabFertile, FabFertile.com and click on book a free call. Then you'll be booked in and ready to spend 30 of the most valuable minutes ever on your fertility. So that's FabFertile, FabFertile.com, and click on the link to book a free call.
Most conditions in the child occur during the 9 months of development. It's the genetic switches are turned on or turned off, and they're pre-programmed. So you are in such a powerful, amazing position to do amazing things for your kids.
Welcome to Get Pregnant Naturally, where functional medicine and natural fertility solutions will help you get pregnant and have your baby. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Clark. My mission is to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Most of all, I want you to wake up. So with functional medicine, we can discover what causes infertility and eventually reverse the condition. Today, I'm welcoming Dr. Ben Lynch to the podcast, and we're digging into why methylation is important for fertility. Dr. Ben Lynch is the best-selling author of Dirty Genes and a leader in the field of nutrigenomics. He is also president of Seeking Health, an innovative company providing supplements, courses, and tools designed to help people overcome genetic dysfunction and optimize health. After earning his Bachelor of Science in Cell and Molecular Biology from the University of Washington, he then obtained a doctorate of naturopathic medicine from Bastyr University, where he now serves on the board of trustees. Dr. Lynch lives in Seattle, Washington, with his wife and 3 sons. Check out his website at seekinghealth.com. And before we jump into today's show, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this to make sure you never miss an episode. Hey, Dr. Lynch, excited to have you on the podcast.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So could you share with us how you came to do this work?
Well, I think we're all searching for something, right, that fulfills you and makes you feel like you're being useful to society. And I will say that what really hit me to be the most valued was when my first son was born. I was like, okay, that's my real job now is to be a father. So that was primary. And after that, it was, I was always searching, and I love digging into research. And one day I was probably not focusing on what I should have been doing. And this video came on my screen, and it talked about the tale of 2 mice, about how they were genetically susceptible to cancer, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes. And they're genetically destined to get these things. And I was like, okay, well, that's depressing. And then the researcher said, well, what I thought I'd do is, they're genetically susceptible to these things, but I thought, well, what if I gave them some extra nutrition in their rat chow, for the pregnant mother, and to see if their babies would actually get these things. So the mother is genetically susceptible to these problems, but let's give her some extra nutrients and let's see if her kids get them. Well, it turned out they didn't. And I was just blown away. And I literally put my hands on my desk and I pushed back and I screamed at the computer. I said, that's what I want to do. And then I realized I was on wheels and I slammed in the back of the counter behind me. That was it.
There you go. And then down the rabbit hole you went.
Down I went. And it's been a long road to circle back to this, because anytime it's not that simple, right? You can't just think that it's that simple in real life. And while it was cool to see that and to hear that these genetically susceptible mice to get these major problems and later in life didn't get them, it's not as easy as just adding some vitamins to your food usually.
Mm-hmm.
So that led me down, as you said, massive rabbit holes. I have holes all over my yard, digging in the research, and it led me to discovering in research for the first time the first gene that I ever started studying was MTHFR, and so then I went down that rabbit hole. Now there's a bunch of others, which led to dirty genes. So onward we go.
Awesome. So yeah, people listening to this podcast are struggling with infertility. So on the fertility journey, and really, it's fine. A lot of people that come to me, I'd say maybe 50% now realize they should be taking a methylated folate for their prenatal. I know you're super passionate about spreading the word about this. Can you kind of once and for all share with us why it's important to take a methylated folate rather than folic acid and the difference?
Yeah. I have a whole article on the drbenlynch.com website called Folic Acid Side Effects. And then we have another one, Folic Acid and Pregnancy. So I invite you to look at those in full if you want to get the full answer. In short, folic acid is only been around since, the 1980s, basically. So not long, if you think about it, 30 years, 40 years. So if humans have been on the planet for thousands of years, and we have, folic acid has only been around here, say 40 or 50. So there was, neural tube defects are not a deficiency in a synthetic vitamin that was just created 40 years ago. This has been an ongoing problem. And while folic acid has indeed helped some women and families having children, it is not what we should be taking. I appreciate the fact that, we tried to synthesize a vitamin and put it in our foods in order to get better outcomes for people, but it's not how it works. So folic acid literally gums up your biochemistry because it is absolutely not what your body is expecting to use. It's not ready to be used. So let's say you came home after a long day of work and you told your husband to prepare dinner, right? And you came home and all the ingredients were sitting on the counter for dinner. You got the steak that's raw, you got all the veggies that haven't been grilled yet, everything just sitting there. You're like, what the hell? I told you to cook dinner. Well, all those ingredients is folic acid. And so if you came home to a well-cooked dinner, the steak was just right and the veggies were grilled perfectly, and you just sat down and ate, those are real folates. So your body has to take that synthetic folic acid and prepare it and process it to go through a bunch of genes to make it usable. The problem is many people have problems in their folate genetics and they cannot process it. And even then, let's say your folate genetics are perfect, they're beautiful, you're the most perfect specimen in the world with the best folate genes possible. Folic acid is still trash because the studies were done on rats, and rats can process folic acid through their genes just fine, but in humans, it's 200 times slower. So now that synthetic folic acid is binding to your folate receptors, which is trying to pull the folate inside of your cells where it's supposed to be to do its job, is now just holding on to garbage folic acid, and the good folate is sitting there saying, hey, let me in, but I can't. So you have a functional folate deficiency.
And so what about all those foods that have folic acid in there that are enriched with folic acid?
Garbage.
Yeah. What do we do?
Garbage. And part of the processed food industry problem is that they're using synthetic folic acid. And a lot of people say, I feel a lot better switching to a real food diet. And, and look, I'm not perfect. I eat some processed food too. I had some chips last night. Mm-hmm. And were they organic? I hope so. I think so. But I get some folic acid in me at times. I just want you to focus on, limiting it and not stressing about every single microgram of folic acid of avoidance. Just reduce it.
And where would it typically be found? So folic acid.
Folic acid is typically, as you mentioned, processed foods. Mm-hmm. So it's typically grains, breads, cereals, all these things, energy bars, drinks. What else am I missing here? I think those are the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Supplements, obviously.
Yeah.
Most prenatals, most preconception docs and fertility docs are actually recommending that you be taking upwards of 4 to 5 milligrams of folic acid, and because the research shows that women who are taking higher doses of folic acid have a better success rate. And while that's kind of true, I don't like pushing against something that's got a lot of resistance. I like to think my way to a solution rather than force a solution. Using a bunch of milligrams of folic acid is forcing your way and hoping. It's a hope method that it's going to help. And in actuality, it's the long-term solution is not folic acid. You got to use the real folates.
And then, so looking for that methylated folate. So can you just sort of describe that a little bit for us?
Yeah, for sure. And there's basically 2 types of folates, and methylated folate, a methyl group. So you hear the difference, right? You hear folate and you hear methylfolate, and then you hear folic acid, and you're like, what the hell? They all sound the same. Mm-hmm. Folate is basically, let's call folate like a vehicle. And then you have different types of vehicles. You have trucks and cars and semi-trucks and motorcycles. So folic acid is a type of folate. Methylfolate is a type of folate. Folinic acid is a type of folate. And folic acid looks identical, absolutely identical to methylfolate. The only difference is a tiny little compound that sits on the compound that's different. And that little compound is what's called a methyl group. And that makes all the difference in the world. So folic acid does not have the methyl group, while methylfolate does. And so what you need that methyl group to do is you need to be able to have a methyl group on things so it can be passed around and given to various things in your body. So for example, your dopamine in your brain will become methylated and changed to norepinephrine. You will methylate your estrogen and have methylated estrogens. You will have your RNA methylated to become DNA, which is super important. Your homocysteine will be methylated and become methionine, so it's less toxic. And elevated homocysteine during pregnancy or during infertility, trying to become fertile, is a huge problem. So if you have high homocysteine, you really need that methylated folate. If you take folic acid, yeah, you might get some lowering of the folic acid, but as you mentioned in your notes, some women who were actually taking higher levels of folic acid actually had their homocysteine levels go up because their body had to try to put a methyl group on it, so it was actually using the methylation. The doctor pulled them off the folic acid, gave them the methylated folate, and within days, their homocysteine levels dropped because it became methylated from the methylfolate.
Yeah, this was in a study that you've referenced there. I think on your it was either in a Facebook. I don't know where I saw that.
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, you were talking about it. So basically, women struggling with infertility, they had multiple failed IVFs and advised to take folic acid. And then you're talking about folic acid increased the homocysteine levels. So as you're explaining there, really the correlation between the two. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay, and so in your book, Dirty Genes, I recommend this book at least once a week to someone. I've got it right here on my shelf. So you talk about 7 genes in that book, so you call them the Super 7. So someone struggling with infertility, it seems that we'd be focusing on the MTHFR and the GST/GPX gene. Is that correct, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I was preparing for your interview and I was thinking through it and it's like, well, yeah, you're definitely right. MTHFR is a big one. In fact, if you look at what the researchers are looking at for female-based infertility, MTHFR is the 3rd ranked gene that they look at. And it's pretty significant. So MTHFR is a big one. But then you also have the glutathione one. So you've got to be able to get rid of the chemicals like you're talking about and the oxidative stress. So low levels of glutathione from the GST/GPX genes, as discussed in the book, are extremely important because if chemicals are there, babies are going to get them, and it's going to infect them. It's going to affect them,
Mm-hmm.
and your fertility as well. The quality of the eggs will go down, and men, the quality of your sperm will go down if your glutathione levels are not good and your glutathione genes are dirty. But then you also have the NOS3 genes. The nitric oxide synthase gene is super important. If your blood flow is not getting around and providing nutrition, to various parts of your body, including your uterus, and where your eggs are kept in your ovaries, then you're going to have problems. So ladies, if you have cold hands and feet, and men too, if you routinely have cold hands and feet, your nitric oxide synthase gene is dirty. And so a combination of MTHFR and NOS3, it's not ideal, and you can clean those up. And then you've got COMT. If that's a slower one, then you're more prone to stressors and anxiety, and that will also reduce your blood flow and make you potentially more estrogen dominant and make your progesterone level ratio to your estrogen lower, and thus increase your infertility risk. So that is one, and PCOS is another one. PCOS is highly associated with infertility. And then you got MAO-A. If that's lower, you're also prone to stressors and sleep issues. And then you got PEMT, which is important for all your cell membranes and production of your primary cell membrane compound called phosphatidylcholine. And if that is low, then you're not going to be able to synthesize cell membranes. And if you can't do that, you can't make a placenta. You can't make a thicker uterine walls. You can't make a baby. So basically all the genes are needing some love. And I forgot one, which is DAO. Mm-hmm. And histamine is really associated with infertility or pregnancy complications. And so if a woman's DAO gene is dirty, then she's going to have histamine related issues and have a more complicated pregnancy. And so that, insomnia, irritability, eczema, intolerance to wine or histamine containing foods, these are all, like fish as well, these are all problematic. And usually a dirty microbiome is a big culprit of this. So they're actually all 7 are pretty related.
Yeah, I think with infertility, we get the diagnosis of infertility, be it unexplained or, low AMH or low ovarian reserve or premature ovarian failure, PCOS, fibroids. I think we get sort of focused in on that diagnosis. Yes. And really, and your book actually has really some simple techniques to be able to just scrub these genes clean. And it's not this big, like it can sound fairly complicated when we're talking about all these genes, but really some of these diet and lifestyle factors, when you take this very targeted approach, can be really effective instead of just focusing on the diagnosis.
Yeah. Well said. And the term infertility, it makes you feel inadequate, mm-hmm. right? Infertility, inadequate, and it's like, God, I'm a failure, and what have I done to be such a unhospitable specimen for growing a baby? What's up with this? And so you look for a singular reason, and you go to these specialists, and they tell you it's like, yeah, you have PCOS, or all these different hormones are out of whack, and you start zeroing in, just like you said, Sarah, and it's not. It's so tempting to zero in and to look for a specific cause and get a genetic test. It's like, oh, I have MTHFR. That must be the thing. I'm with you. And the reality is you got to zoom way the hell out. Mm-hmm. And you got to say, okay, all right. So yeah, we can't get pregnant. Forget the term infertility. We're not getting pregnant right now. And we're not getting pregnant because our bodies aren't ready to support us and a developing organ and a developing baby. So, all right, if that's the case, then what am I doing right now in my life that is so taxing and not readying me to become a mother? And you need to really sit back and zoom way out. And, it's like those maps or Google Earth, mm-hmm. Get rid of your overview of your home and look at the earth. And we'll hit those points in a second, but that's basically what dirty genes is zooming way the heck out, but then zooming back in when you need to. So it's kind of a yo-yo effect.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people will get the diagnosis and then go straight to the fertility clinic instead of saying, mm-hmm. body's trying to tell me something here.
And then they force it.
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you force a pregnancy, and while that is a success in one hand, it's actually not a success long term. And I'm going to share something that I don't think I've shared publicly before, and it's not the best news. Should I do it?
Go ahead.
Okay. So there's something called translational epigenetics. And we hear about epigenetics and we hear about genetics. And we know that if we have MTHFR or these other genetic variants or we inherit them, they can make our lives more susceptible to having dirty genes. And we may not perform the best in certain things, but may perform better in other things. Epigenetics is the science of what is influencing our genes to turn on or off. So your decisions every single moment, what are you thinking right now, is influencing your genes right now. What you're looking outside is influencing your genes. What you're listening to right now is influencing your genes. In fact, I may have tensed you up by saying this information, and you're like, oh God, now you're going to hit me. So now I've influenced your genes to put on kind of a protection mode, right? So here's the deal about translational epigenetics. Translational epigenetics is when you are passing your genetic influences on to your next generation. So this is a big, big deal. And so if you're struggling with infertility and you have made a decision because you've tried all these different things and it's just not working, and you say, okay, I'm going for IVF, and you do the sperm and the egg and you make that happen, that's great. And I'm totally with you. I would do the same thing. Seriously, I would do the same thing. But do know that you could be passing on infertility to your new child, because the epigenetics that you have are passing directly onto the baby, and the IVF treatments are bypassing some natural mechanisms which typically strip off all the epigenetic tags from you and your partner, and the baby can start fresh. So IVF treatments can be maybe not good. And this is the research that's being talked about right now. And it's kind of hush hush, but I really wanted to get this out there because I just want you all to know that and what the research is showing.
Yeah, and that's why I'm doing this podcast, really, because it's like when we get that diagnosis and we go straight there, it's kind of like, wait a minute, the body's whispering to you. And we ignore the signals and start shouting in the form of disease. So let's look at the whole body instead of rushing over there. And I had both my kids with donor eggs. So I was, diagnosed with premature ovarian failure. And I was, lucky enough on the first fresh transfer to have them. But, my health suffered after my postpartum health. My kids have, food sensitivities and, mood issues and eczema and other stuff. And
exactly.
If I had a focus on my preconception health, if I had have known, there's things I could have done, and potentially, I feel I could have been able to reverse it, but I didn't discover this stuff until I was 40. It was like way too late. I was fully in menopause.
That's right. And most people don't. So I truly appreciate that you're getting this information out there, and, you're doing fantastic things for people by doing this. And, the health, as I talk about in Dirty Genes, it's work. It is. And, you can't just drive to an IVF treatment center and say, well, you can, but I don't recommend it, and just say, hook me up with a kid. I'm not going to make any lifestyle changes. I'm going to continue living with mold in my house. I'm going to continue eating the Fritos and the Twinkies and drinking the Coke, and, off I go. And I tell you, that might seem like a shortcut, but long term, you're going to have a very sick kid on your hands, and for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And so you gotta buckle down. And I might sound like a punk right now, but I'm being serious. I wish that my wife and I made some different choices with her pregnancy, but I didn't know. And most conditions in the child occur during the 9 months of development. It's the genetic switches are turned on or turned off, and they're pre-programmed. So you are in such a powerful, amazing position to do amazing things for your kids. And Sachin Patel, it actually wasn't Sachin, it was Sean Bean. Sean Bean had a great post on his Facebook page the other day, and he goes, it's so interesting to me that, men and women will spend a year planning for their wedding and spend tens of thousands of dollars and do all these invitations and all this sitting and planning, and then they'll just get pregnant and take a couple pills and off they go. So it to me, if they just switch that priority, things would be a lot better.
Yeah, it's just looking at things with a completely new lens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as far as MTHFR and getting tested for it, what's your take on actually getting tested for this, and what do you recommend to get tested for it? I think you changed your mind on where to go on this.
For sure. And so there's a couple things with this. One, genetic testing gets you, microscopic vision. So if you are looking for a reason why you are struggling right now of not being able to get pregnant, note that I did not use the word infertile. Mm-hmm. Please don't look for a myopic reason. Understanding your genetics is very powerful and very useful for sure. So if you are doing all the work and you're doing all the stuff and you do want to order your genetics and you do understand that it's not a myopic approach, by all means, go get genetic, testing, and it's phenomenal when it's used right. It's very detrimental when it's not, and very expensive when it's not. And time consuming as well, because you go down all these rabbit holes. It gets you nowhere. So if you're going to do genetic testing and you haven't done it yet, there's a couple things. One, I recommend Ancestry now over 23andMe. Yeah. And the reason being is 23andMe has cut a lot of genes from their chip that they're no longer reporting, and Ancestry has more that they're reporting than 23andMe. So that is one bit of information. Ancestry and 23andMe will tell you that they do not test for MTHFR. That is incorrect information. They test for it. They do not report it. There's a difference. So I also do not recommend that you go to your doctor and have LabCorp or Quest or some other smaller lab test you for MTHFR, because it could cost you thousands of dollars versus 99 to 100 to $200 if you get it through Ancestry or 23andMe or elsewhere. If you've already done 23andMe, that's just fine. Your genetic information that they've collected from you does have the MTHFR data. Now you need to run it through a report. I have my own report, full disclosure, and it's called Stratagene. And Stratagene it takes your raw data from either 23andMe or Ancestry, and it provides you a report that looks at your epigenetics and your genetics, such as MTHFR, NOS3, COMT, MAO-A, PEMT, and those other ones that we talk about in the book, Dirty Genes. If you are scared about getting genetic testing, it makes you nervous, don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, because I think some people are thinking, okay, now that'll follow me for the rest of my life. If what will I find? Will like the BRCA gene or something will come up, and then I'll be. Is that kind of what you're going in? If people are having those worries about it, or
yeah, let's hit on that real quick. So the BRCA gene. So there are multiple genes that increase or decrease breast cancer risk in women and men, mainly women. So you have to know that 23andMe reports about, I think, 2 BRCA SNPs out of, I think, 100 or so. So if 23andMe is reporting 2 and they say, oh, you don't have any risk of breast cancer because we're reporting 2 SNPs out of 100, plus we're not reporting MTHFR or glutathione genes or faster cytochrome P450s that increase your risk for cancer, or your vitamin D genes or vitamin A or all these other genes that can increase the risk of breast cancer outside of just a breast cancer gene. It's, to me, that reporting is dangerous and doing more harm than good. So I don't appreciate them reporting that. I'm making my own genetic test right now. So if you don't want to use Ancestry or 23andMe, you should wait for Stratagene genetic test to come out, which will come out in the fall of this year. And it's going to be very full of information.
Okay, great. That's awesome. Okay, so in going into the methylation cycle, so if ours is blocked, is that the case for everyone that has infertility?
I would say no. Infertility there's a whole slew of things in there, right? I would say there's a most likely methylation thing going on, but I don't want you focusing on methylation with infertility. Again, I don't want you thinking myopic, MTHFR, or methylation. I want you thinking big. And because the moment you start thinking myopic, I did. When I first read about MTHFR in the research, I was completely myopic, and it backfired. So I was there with you. So I'm just advising you, since I was there, it's not a good place to be. So methylation is a process that you can't just fix by swallowing methylated folate or methylcobalamin, methylated vitamin B12. It's not that simple. Your body regulates it, and it regulates it because it's a very, very, very important pathway in your human body. And if it did not regulate it, we'd all have cancer, and we'd all have just eyeballs coming out of our arms and legs coming out of our head, because methylation turns genes on and off. So it's incredibly important. What I want you to understand is the methylation cycle is heavily influenced by infections, environmental chemicals, inflammation, medications, alcohol, the microbiome, reactive oxygen species. If you're training and exercising, and you're one of those people that is, that didn't sound nice. If you are a very motivated and driven person, and you love to exercise intensely, you are using up a lot of your nutrients, and you are not leaving many for yourself or your kid. So I would say, if you want to focus on methylation, pick up your estrogen report and look at the pathways. If you look at the pathways on your estrogen report, you can look at the intersection of where the MTHFR gene meets up with another one called MTR. There's a bunch of purple stuff there. And this is where methylation really gets blocked. And there is heavy metals, yeast overgrowth, alcohol, inflammation, heavy metals, infections, nitrous oxide, and hydrogen peroxide. And hydrogen peroxide, it comes from stress, it comes from overtraining, it comes from infections, it comes from low glutathione. So you gotta just remove all that stuff, and your methylation cycle will be a lot happier for it. And I will say here, a lot of times, many, many times, I have seen people struggling with fertility who are vegans, vegetarians, or exercising too hard, or very type A driven people. Yep. And they're very depleted. And, since they're very driven, they want to fix the problem, as totally get it and totally understandable. But in order to fix it, you need to slow down. And that is not easy for these folks.
Yeah, and those different stressors. So if it's, as you talk about, so gut infection, or if there's food sensitivity, then the mental emotional side of these, so getting honest about your stressors there, and then looking at environmental toxins, which you talked about, and then also if there's structural stress, any kind of pinched nerve or something like that, that could be then sort of looking at the stressors as opposed to then just looking at a blocked cycle, a methylation cycle.
Exactly. And you don't need to look at any biochemical pathways. There's only one diagram in the whole book of Dirty Genes, and that's basically teaching you how to utilize supplementation. There's no diagrams in there. There's no genetic testing needed. There's quizzes. It is pretty dense, in terms of science, but a lot of people say, I was really scared when I got the book that I was just going to be way over the top. But, they said the first couple chapters were a bit, meaty, but after that, with all the stories and the patient's success stories and examples, and the practical approach, it made it applicable. So I think I know if you are struggling with trying to conceive, the book will give you a lot of aha moments, and it will but it'll allow you to step back and say, oh, this actually isn't that hard. I just need to make some changes.
Yeah, I highly recommend the book, and really being able, as you go through it, it's sort of kind of like ahas for yourself because you give all these different
descriptions of each of the genes and sort of see potentially how that could apply to you. And if you've, I guess the case studies and things like that you have as well are very telling. So you can kind of see yourself in some of these people.
Yeah. And let me give you a couple stories from this, if I may. And so when I was writing the book, it was extremely hard. I mean, writing a book is probably the hardest thing I've ever done besides raising kids. I mean, it's tough. And when I have my kids on school vacation, my calendar's blocked out. So my assistant Karen, she's great. As soon as we know the next school year calendar, my calendar's blocked and I'm on vacation with my kids and my wife. We're gone. And it happened that right in the middle of my book deadlines, there was a ski trip coming up. And she's like, well, you can't go. You got to grind this out. I said, well, I'm going to ski during the day and I'll work on it at night. She goes, well, you can't do it. You got to get it done. I said, I'll get it done. So you have to make decisions that, you have to plan ahead. You have to fill your calendar with fun activities. You have to dedicate time to things that matter, and you have to put it in and you have to do it. Here I am grinding away on deadlines, plus running a fast growing company, plus 3 kids, plus, remodeling a home. And I still made a choice to go on a ski vacation and ski during the day with my kids. And while they're in the pool or watching a movie, I would stay up late, which was not good for my health, but it was a choice and I got the book done. So you gotta make these things, what's important, make it important.
Yeah. When we say we're too busy, it's weird. We're not setting it as a priority.
The word too busy is complete BS.
It is.
It's complete BS. And when people tell me I'm too busy, I just want to call them on it.
Yeah.
It's what you value.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you value. If you are grinding away, and when I was in Japan, I was working with doctors. They flew me all the way over there to help them with MTFR and genetics and all these things. And it was interesting. I told them, I said, I want you to give me your most difficult patient, and I will help you, work with your most difficult patient. And I got all these labs and all this history, and it turned out every single one of them was their most difficult patient. So, but there was one woman who was struggling to get pregnant, and it turned out that her partner was overworking, and she said that he wanted to have a kid, but you could just see that while he said he wanted to have a kid and they were quote unquote trying, it was not a priority for him and he wasn't truly valuing it. So he was taking some vitamins, not really, but he was grinding away. He wasn't doing the sauna. He wasn't, doing the things that he should have done. And I said, well, unless he makes these changes and he works less, you're not going to get pregnant. So, it's a real truth to sit down and say, okay, do I really want to get pregnant here? And if I do, then I need to dedicate it to it. And I have to reduce my exercise. I have to change my diet. I have to clean up my environment, because having a kid the right way, the healthy way, is incredibly important to me, because I know that this kid's life depends on my decisions now. And whatever I choose to do or choose not to do is going to affect my kid the rest of his or her life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So as far as diet, so we typically have people start off with the elimination diet. So taking out the top allergens, so dairy, gluten, soy, corn, peanuts, and eggs for 10 days, and then systematically reintroduce them so we really can pinpoint a sensitivity and move from there. What's your take on diet for, I don't know, just in general, I think. Is it just no processed foods? Are you like gluten-free, dairy-free, or what do you recommend?
Yeah, great loaded question.
Yeah.
And to me, I just posted on Instagram, and I said, there is no perfect diet.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. So my points are: eat seasonally, eat till 80% full, chew your food well, buy locally as you can, eat whole foods, which is food, vary your food choices, limit how often you eat, limit eating late, tune in to how you feel, and eat accordingly. So to me, tuning in to how you are feeling versus just, I'm hungry, I got to make that feeling go away so I can continue doing what I'm doing, that type of eating needs to stop. and you need to appreciate and start respecting your food. Look, I'm a naturopathic physician. I really believe in mindset and how you, the words that you choose, whether they're verbally spoken or just thought in your brain, are impacting your digestion and your life. And so if you are saying, I'm going to eat because I'm hungry versus I'm going to eat because I want to nourish myself and have a beautiful child, is totally different. And it might sound woo-woo and quackery, but it's legit. It's very, very powerful stuff. Yes, I'm gluten-free. And yes, I eat organically. Yes, I avoid the dirty dozen found on the Environmental Working Group. And yes, I eat some junk food sometimes, but minimally. I basically live by the, eat in moderation. I don't like stressing about my food choices. And I eat 80% of the time, probably 90% of the time, maybe 95% of the time, very healthfully. And the other remaining, not so much, chips and beef jerky and what have you. But, everyone is different. Some people can tolerate wheat. But I think that the wheat, even if it's organic, is problematic because of how they've grown it. And the selections that they've done, and plus they spray it with Roundup prior to harvest. That's not organic. But really tune into how you're feeling. That is really, really important. I love that you're doing the elimination diet. And let's say that you come home and your husband or your wife made you a beautiful dinner, and it's just not sounding good to you right now. And you just know it's, great. And this is a fine line, but if you are trying to conceive and that dinner just does not sound right to you, just say, honey, I truly love that you prepared for this for me. I'll have it for breakfast or lunch tomorrow. But I got to eat something different. I'm just not feeling that right now. It just doesn't seem like it's going to sit well for me. And my wife will, prepare something. Usually I'll eat it. Sometimes, she'll ask me beforehand. She goes, I'm going to make some soup tonight. I say, I feel, since it's so hot today, I feel like, just a salad. I just feel like a salad, and I'll just make it myself. That's cool. So she'll have her hot soup and I'll have my salad. So you got to tune in to how you're feeling and adjust.
It's really important. And the more you kind of be able to connect that, you can really see, you can feel what feels right for you. And yeah, when it's hot out, soup's not so much, and you really feel like you crave a salad, or sometimes you really just want fruit, or it's to listen to what you're feeling, you're craving. If you're craving sugar all the time, that's a whole other different story. But okay. And so another one.
And let me touch a couple other things too. You should feel energized after you eat. If you feel tired after you ate, something's not right. You should feel good. You should feel good after you eat, not tired. And your pulse, you can check your pulse before you eat. If it's like 60, 70, 80, whatever your pulse is, just count to 10 and multiply by 6, wherever you want to feel your pulse. And then check it again after you're eating, or maybe 20 minutes after you ate. If it speeds up quite a bit and you're not exercising, there's something in that food which did not sit well with you. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's a good tip too. Okay, so as far as environmental toxins, I know you're really passionate with this. I think have you just remodeled your house? You've done a whole. I follow you on Instagram. So as far as environmental toxins, avoiding plastics, and you talked about Roundup, and so herbicides, and you talked about sauna there. How do we minimize our risk of environmental toxins?
Awareness, number one. You have to be aware it's everywhere. And a lot of toxins you cannot see. Some of them you can smell, like your neighbor's, dryer sheets, scented dryer sheets. You can't stand those things. Please stop using them.
I find lately I can literally smell laundry detergent on people now. It's just once you switch all this stuff, you become so sensitive to the smells. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's actually because you are more in tune. You haven't burned out your senses anymore. You're healthier. That you're more aware of that stuff. I'll be hiking in the forest. There's like 600 acres or more of forest around our home. And, we live in the city, but we have some big parks around us. I'll be walking through there, and there's some homes surrounding the forest, and I'll be selling scented dryer sheets.
Yeah.
Like, come on. So I mean, to me, clean is a lack of smell, not the presence of smell. So just saying. So, and then, you pesticides, herbicides, take your shoes off. Sauna is super important, not while you're pregnant or breastfeeding, but sauna is key. There's a ton of chemicals that come out of you. Dr. Stephen Genis, Genius, out of Canada, I believe Alberta, prolific publisher in PubMed. He talks about sauna and chemicals, and really great work. But it's just everywhere, and you just want to minimize it. So, my kids play soccer, and a lot of them play on turf often because of rainy, damp Seattle. We can't just play soccer on grass here because it'd just be mud 9 months out of the year. So they have turf pellets, and the first thing they do is they take their socks and shoes off outside, and they wash their hands with soap, and they do not eat on the pitch.
Just the plastic. Yeah. Okay. And then what about anything else you wanted to say on environmental toxins in your house, things that you think you'd like to share?
Yeah. So I've gotten, I would say my focus in med school was environmental medicine. So, you hear about all the chemicals and the heavy metals and the drugs and things like that you shouldn't be taking. And you hear about the stuff that your mom was taking that you inherited while she was pregnant with you. Thanks, Mom. But it's just how it is. But there's sometimes, as Gore says, an inconvenient truth. And cell phones, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, these things we cannot see. They're super convenient. I use them all, but they are very, very detrimental. Our bodies are electrical. Our mitochondria are electrical. Our cells are communicating. Listen to the word electrolyte. Electrolyte. It's electricity. And when your electricity is firing, you have energy. So when your battery is down, you don't have energy. So it's all about having the right charge and being able to express that energy. And if you are sleeping in a home that has Wi-Fi, or your cell phones are by your bed on, just on and not on airplane mode, and you have Bluetooth devices everywhere, like, I don't know, Alexa or what have you, you are really disrupting the cell-to-cell communication, and you are not delivering the nutrients, or the cells cannot repair or grow the things that they need to do. Yes, use your Wi-Fi as you need to. Yes, use your cell phone as you need to, but keep it away from your womb, keep it away from your breasts, keep it away from your testicles. Oftentimes I'll see my boys with their friends over, and the cell phone will be sitting right on top of their genitals watching TV. It's like, that is modern day birth control. And they're like, what? They're like, oh, damn. So it's you got to be aware. So turn off your Wi-Fi at night. And I had our home fully wired. So I'm using wired internet right now on our computer. We have no Wi-Fi in the home, to the detriment of my boys, but actually to the betterment of them.
Okay. Yeah, I love all those. Thank you. And as far as sleep, you've got no caffeine after 2, blue light blockers, anything that you're...
Yeah. Sleep is something you got to measure. You got to measure it. You can't just wake up and say, oh, I feel kind of good, I feel kind of not. You got to measure it. Sleep Cycle is an app that you can use your phone. You turn it on, and you get it going, and you put your phone on airplane mode. It will still work and collect information. It's a good rudimentary way to get started without making an investment. That's what I used. So again, it's called Sleep Cycle. It's decent. It's not exceptional, but it's decent. It gets you some information. What I really like, though, is the Oura Ring.
Mm-hmm.
Oura Ring, to me, really changed my sleep. And it's because I was in denial. And when you are in great denial about something, like, oh, I can do it, others can't, I'm fine, that you need to measure. And so I'd be sitting in the bed with the laptop on my lap, on a thing that would protect me from the radiation or electrical stuff. It's a type of mat that you can get, Defender Pad or whatever it's called. And I have, it'd be wired, it'd be internet, and I'd have my blue blockers on. and I'd be watching my show on Netflix, like we all have.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like just a half hour, just half hour show, maybe an hour, maybe I'll be 2 episodes, maybe 3. And I'd be fine. Right. And I go to sleep and I wake up the next day and I'd be good. I started tracking this with my Oura ring. I had 3 minutes of deep sleep. I had 5 minutes of deep sleep. I was like, whoa. And I just kept doing it. 8 minutes of deep sleep. I was like, wow. Okay. So I didn't bring the computer in my room anymore. In fact, I didn't bring the computer in the house at all anymore. And I started improving. I started going from 3 to 20 minutes to 30 minutes to 40 minutes. And then I would go back to 20 and was like, okay, what have I done? And you look back in your day, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I ate ice cream before bed, or I got in a fight with my wife or my kids before bed, or I stayed up at 11:30. And if I go to bed at 10:30, I get a lot more deep sleep than if I go to bed at 11:30. So you start checking back, okay, why is my deep sleep sucking, or why is my REM sucking? And it's like, oh, I exercised yesterday in the afternoon. I was way better than when I exercised in the evening. So it starts really influencing your decisions. To me, I call it a health coach on your finger. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't lie. And it's very accurate. And it's very worth the money.
Yeah, sleep is crucial for health and fertility.
Oh, it's key. It's the keystone.
Yeah. And so is there anything you're obsessed with right now as far as a book, a website, an app, a documentary, anything you would just like to recommend?
Wow. Well, I started a new show called Chernobyl on HBO. Wow.
Yeah.
That's bad. If you want to get your hackles up, poof. Yeah. Yeah. And I would say that I wrote a note here because I knew I'd forget. What am I obsessed with? I'm obsessed lately with getting our genetic test out there, because we've been researching for 5 years, and we've got 5 years of data and research just sitting in Google Sheets and Google Docs and Trello and Basecamp and our computers. Mm-hmm. That is finally going to be released. And it's a huge, huge project that's finally coming to fruition. So that's what I'm mainly obsessed with. And I'm also getting really, part of the genetic test is I'm really, really obsessed with understanding of all the main things that are the man and women are doing prior to conception and during pregnancy that influence their child for the rest of their life. And to me, if we can correct deficiencies and excesses and optimize pregnancy, we're going to have a much healthier planet. We're going to have great kids. We're going to have autism go way down. We're going to have ADD go away. There's a lot of things that are going to improve. Dementia will go way down. And let me share you with something about that. So Dr. Zeisel is a phenomenal researcher in the choline area. Yeah. And over 90% of pregnant women are deficient in choline. You hear about folate all the time, but choline is a big one. So he looked at pregnant mice, and they were choline deficient, and they had babies, and these babies got early onset dementia. And he said, okay, well, I'm going to give a lot more choline to them, which is equivalent to about 800 milligrams of choline to the mom while she's pregnant, the mom rat mouse. And he measured the dementia in these baby mice all through their lifespan. They never got dementia. Just from giving them 800 milligrams of choline, they didn't get dementia. So women and men, you need to be supplementing with phosphatidylcholine during your pregnancy. It's a must. It's an absolute must. And getting about 800 milligrams of choline and various sources, phosphatidylcholine is great. It'll do fantastic things.
Do you feel that, so diet, so definitely what you need to supplement, or eggs, or doing the
Well, you can do eggs. I'm nervous about eggs because they're so allergenic.
Yes.
So I do want women eating eggs, pasture or homegrown, grass-fed, vegetarian-fed, enriched, with good chicken feed and all that. And so look for the good eggs in the store. My wife one time a few times actually bought quote unquote organic eggs from Costco. And came home and I had an omelet it's like, wow, this is awful. I couldn't even eat it. And she said, okay, I won't buy those eggs anymore. And it's like, I don't know, 6 months later, she tried it again, and I could taste it. It's like, this is garbage. You got those eggs again, didn't you? So, and I usually don't complain, but those Costco organic eggs are trash. So make sure you're getting good eggs. I would believe that it would reduce the allergenicity profile, if that's a word.
Mm-hmm.
And just get pasture raised if you can, or find a neighbor who's got chickens. Mike Mutzel's got tons of chickens. But yeah, choline's a great source. Fish eggs, salmon roe, fantastic source of choline as well. But I just don't want you getting allergic to it. So supplement, yes. And do not use soy as much as you can. Soy is heavily processed. So a lot of phosphatidylcholine is soy-based. And there's a lot of hexane used as a solvent in the preparation of pulling phosphatidylcholine out of soy. So now you're not just getting phosphatidylcholine or getting GMO materials. You're also getting a bunch of hexane, which is a nasty solvent. So I prefer using a phosphatidylcholine derived from sunflower seeds.
Do you have a supplement that you recommend for that one? Do you have the line or that?
I do, yeah. So seekinghealth.com is the supplement company that I own, and I formulate the products there in Optimal PC. So PC stands for phosphatidylcholine. We have two forms. We have one in a bottle that is, I don't want to call it a liquid because it's like molasses. It's thick, so keep it on the counter where it's warm, not hot. It'll come out like a molasses style, and you can put it on a tablespoon and just eat it. And you can have it with food because it is an oil. And we also have it in a gelatin cap. But if you're a vegan or vegetarian, you need to have it in the bulk liquid style because the gel cap is made out of animal-derived gelatin.
Yeah, we recommend your prenatal from Seeking Health all the time. Just a question about it. Why is there no iron? Is there a reason that you have no iron in there?
Yeah, great question. There's quite a few reasons why we don't put iron in the prenatal. One, iron can be very pro-inflammatory. And I want women to get the amount of iron that they individually need. If paleo is a big thing and the meat diet is another big thing. So there are some women who are getting sufficient iron, and I don't want them getting more because iron is pro-inflammatory. Inflammation is bad for baby and mom. And I also want the woman to take as much iron, if she needs more iron, as she needs, because I don't know if she needs 12 milligrams, 29 milligrams, 40 milligrams. So she can alter the amount that she needs as she needs to. And so we have an optimal iron chewable, which provides, I believe, around 12 milligrams of a very, very tolerable, highly absorbable iron. And that's just easy. You just pop it in your mouth and chew it. And we also have it in a capsule as well. It's about 29 milligrams, I believe, in the capsule. And iron also competes with other nutrients, especially calcium. So we have quite a bit of calcium in our prenatal. And there's a reason for that is because you need a lot of calcium to make bones for your developing baby. And you also need the calcium for you. And so if you do not get sufficient calcium, your baby's bones are going to become problematic, and your bones are going to break down in order to give baby the calcium that they need. And as you're breaking your own bones down by not taking enough calcium, you are releasing lead, which is now getting in the baby. So a lot of prenatals do not have that much calcium in it. One, because it's really, really bulky. And they usually give you a crappy form of calcium too, like calcium carbonate, which isn't very useful. So iron will bind to the calcium and it will render the calcium or the iron inert. So while it's cool to have the iron and calcium on your label, you're actually not getting one or the other. So that's also why we separate it.
Okay. And do you have a quick success story you'd like to share with us? I'm sure you have lots around.
Yeah, I got lots. The easy ones are where people have been trying to get pregnant and they're just not conceiving. Maybe the men's sperm isn't good enough quality, or her eggs aren't working, or something's just not jiving. And they switch to our prenatal, bam, they're pregnant and off they go. Done. Other times, It's more in depth, where they take our prenatal and then they need additional support as well. One story that really comes out to me and resonates is the first one that I ever did. And I helped a couple. They were actually in China, and she was Chinese with homozygous MTHFR, I think 1298 or 677. It was a significant one. And he did not have MTHFR. I think he had one variant. And their first attempt at a pregnancy, they got pregnant, but the baby had no skull. And it died, right? Because it was born and it had no skull. So you can't survive. So that was very, very traumatic for them. And so when they called me to consult, they said, Dr. Lynch, we're kind of scared. Should we try again? Or does this MTHFR thing mean that we're just going to have neural tube defects or no skull in our next attempt? I was like, well, I believe with the right nutrition and the right systems in place, you can have a healthy baby. And so we put the systems in place, and she did not like eating greens. She liked eating soups. She did not like eating meats or eggs. She just liked soups and salads. No, she didn't like salads. She just had soups. And so we really had to convince her to change her diet, and she did. And then she also took the prenatal. She needed extra methylfolate and extra B12 as well. And she had a successful baby. And then they tried a few years later, and they were not able to conceive. Excuse me, I got a dry throat. She was taking a different prenatal. And so I was like, well, you got to get on her prenatal again. And so she got on her prenatal and got on the extra folate again. And they had a beautiful baby boy again. So they're doing really well.
Nice. Thank you for that story. Okay, so you have a free download here. It's a prenatal nutrient guide, and I'll have a link in the show notes, but they can get it at resources.seekinghealth.com/prenatal nutrient guide. But what can they expect in that guide?
Basically, they can expect some specific information on what nutrients that you need to support your pregnancy, and that's what you'll find there. And so you heard a lot of it today. We're probably also focused more in that guide about certain other nutrients like D and vitamin A and probably iodine and some other things. And then there's another article that I wrote. I think it's called Prenatal Supplementation. It might be on mthfr.net, and there's another link that I'll send you to, Sarah, that talks about it's quite comprehensive on my Dr. Ben Lynch. Actually, no, it's on the Seeking Health site. So I'll send it to you.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your words of wisdom. Definitely pick up Dr. Ben Lynch's book, Dirty Genes. I love that book. As I say, I recommend it to someone at least once a week. And definitely check out his free download there, the Prenatal Nutrient Guide. And thanks so much for coming on, Dr. Lynch.
My pleasure, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
I don't know whether you've heard, but I'm offering some spaces in my calendar for Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery Calls. So this call is for you if you're ready to get pregnant naturally or improve your chances at the fertility clinic. We take a functional approach to fertility. It's the future of conventional medicine. So there's a reason that so many medical professionals who are trying to conceive work with us. The approach is rooted in science. So the call is for both you and your partner. Go to FabFertile, FABfertile.com and click on Book a Free Call. Then you'll be booked in and ready to spend 30 of the most valuable minutes ever on your fertility. So that's FabFertile, FABfertile.com, and click on the link to book a free call.